A little story time. Raving horny teenagers, I guess. Not a one time did he attempt to kiss me. I really navigate my life thinking I'm pure because I don't go beyond kissing and cuddling. I never had a conversation with someone after I shared I'm saying myself that they said, yeah, me too. It is honestly the best decision I've ever made in my life. Alright, what is going on to all the riders out there? It's your girl Z here, and I'm back with another video. And for those who are new here, welcome, stay a while, subscribe, and become a part of the family. Be a victory rider. We're catching victories by the grace of God out here. And in today, I want to share a victory that I'm so proud to share, because it's a victory that I started long ago when I was a little bitty girl, and I want to share how it affects me even to this moment now that I'm a mother with a firstborn child, right? So as you guys can see that by the title down below, I want to share my story about how I waited till marriage and how it helped me be the woman that I'm proud to be. So buckle on in because we got a little story time. Okay, so to begin, I decided to wait for marriage, meaning no sex, no oral, no sex at all until marriage, because of a conversation I had when I was about like 12, 13 years old with one of my girlfriends from church. And I always shout her out because, like, this is the God honest truth, right? We was at an evangelistic revival that was happening in the backyard of my church. We had like a big huge tent, and it was like a revival going on where we go to church every day for a service, right? And her name is Jennifer Kajil. Shout her out. She's a married woman now. I don't know her last name now, but she was a childhood best friend, and I'm so glad that God blessed me to have that friendship when I did. We're no longer in each other's life now, but that's just because we just grew apart and we moved all around the world. But I think that I find that friendship so special to me because it really molded me into the woman that I am today because of one conversation in particular I had with her. So at this revival, we're sitting in the chairs that's outside under the tent, and we're just talking about life as adults when we grow up and we're no longer like children in our parents' home, right? And I remember telling her, like, yeah, we're gonna have a house, we're gonna be next door to each other, and we're gonna throw parties, and we're gonna have boys over. And she's like, yeah, it's gonna be so much fun. And we're just going on and on about the fun we're gonna have as adults, right? And then I say something probably like, oh, I'm gonna have like a sexy boyfriend. And she's like, oh, not gonna be sexier than mine, you know? And then something along the lines of like, oh yeah, we're gonna do like hot things together, you know? Like just being raving horny teenagers, I guess, at the time. And then she corrects me when I say something along those lines of like, oh yeah, we're gonna do hot stuff together. And then she's like, but girl, like, if you're not married, you can't do that. He has to be your husband, not your boyfriend. And I looked at her and I was like, huh, I never considered that, right? Because like, I was going to church, I was listening to what was being told to me, but I never put two and two together at that stage in my life that I needed to wait until marriage to do hot things with my boyfriend, right? I remember that moment like vividly, that in my head, I made a vow to God that I was gonna wait till marriage. And then verbally to her, I said, yeah, girl, you're right. I'm gonna wait till marriage, right? And I felt God's presence presence with me from that moment all the way up to different stages in my life. Throughout different stages in my life, I remember being in various moments where I was facing temptation and always looking back like, I'm saying myself to marriage, I'm saying myself to marriage, I'm saying myself to marriage. I would say in my head, and then I would tell the guy as well. But what I realized was, oftentimes when I would tell the guy I'm waiting till marriage, he would either respect it or he would take that as a challenge and see if I can break this girl. And for the guys that would take it as a challenge, God blessed me with the spirit of discernment and wisdom to see straight through that and be like, yeah, this is my last time seeing you again, you know, and blocked or ignored, and that'll be the end of that. But then the person who would act like they were still interested in getting to know me, just to seem like an honest guy, they eventually would show the true colors and would show like, yeah, I was just acting like I was cool with it, but really, you know, I'm not, basically. And then they would eventually trickle off as well. And that's okay, because I feel like that was God protecting me, right? Even though like I'm a woman and I want to feel like loved, or I want to feel like people see me as attractive, it was nice to get that attention. And I remember I used to always battle back and forth with God. Like, although I was getting the attention, I felt love and attractive, it will lead to me then having to have the conversation about save myself to marriage, and then the guy having to just leave, right? Because I know most guys in college and in my age group at that time, nobody was really waiting to marry. I didn't find not a one person who was waiting as well. I never had a conversation with someone after I shared I'm saving myself that they said, yeah, me too. Never, ever, 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 right? So I kind of like trained myself to know, like, whenever someone showed interest in me, although it was flattering and nice and it made me feel nice inside, and that someone likes me and views me as attractive, I knew they weren't going to stay for long. Not one person that I ever think was going to stay for long. And that was kind of like God protecting me, because I never took those relationships serious or thinking like, oh, they're going to be like my husband one day. So in various times in my life, I would say high school, college, and law school, all the men I met in my life during those periods that sought me out, that expressed interest in me, that wanted to date me, I knew wasn't going to be in my life long. Like, God would immediately give me the spirit of discernment and wisdom to know they're not going to be in your life long. Don't take them serious. Don't let them waste your time. Rather waste their time, honestly. Because if I'm going to be really, really, really honest with you guys, I wasted half of their time. Because when I would tell the guy I'm waiting to marriage, and then for the guys I would be like, oh, that's okay, like, I respect that, I don't want to do anything that's gonna make you feel uncomfortable, da, 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 da. That whole spiel, even though I know that spiel will fall apart in maybe like a month or two, I would see right through it. And I'll be like, I know you all talk, but because I want to feel loved and I want some form of attention, just due to just being an attention-seeking woman during the time, at the time I'm in school, it felt nice, okay? So I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna waste his time. And then the moment he begins to switch up and does one wrong move of like, I don't know if we're chilling or if he like touches me the wrong way or something, I'm like, abort. Like, that's my last time seeing you now, right? So that happened various times through high school, college, and law school with different men that was interested in me. And I remember thinking to myself, I'm pure, right? Because I'm saving myself to marriage. I'm pure because we may cuddle and kiss, but nothing further than that, right? I don't let him touch me. I don't let him do this to me. I don't do this to him. I don't do that to him. So I really navigate my life thinking I'm pure because I don't go beyond kissing and cuddling. But then as I continue to grow closer to God, I continue to read the Bible, I began to ask myself, am I really pure? Because I'm still inviting things into my life that are unpure. So like, I would drink with my girls if I was gonna go out to dinner, or if the guy is seeking interest in me wants to take me out to dinner, I would get like a red glass of Cabernet. That was like my thing, right? I thought I was classy and cute, ordering red Cabernet. Or I think I was pure even though like how I was dressing wasn't pure, wearing short dresses or cut too short on my top. Like, am I really pure? Because all of these things are inviting unpure things into my life, right? Because how I dress will attract the wrong type of guy. And I'm sorry to say that. I know we're living in a society where some women won't agree with that, and to each is their own. But for me, I'm of the impression that I know what I wear will attract certain men or bring certain attention. When I would drink, I would become a little more flirtatious, and I was playing with fire by still hanging out with guys who I knew was going to be my husband, all for the sake of feeling wanted and loved and having that attention. So I began to question my purity. In the beginning, when I started questioning, I would just throw in the back of my head like, don't bother with that, don't bother with that. Just keep going, girl. Like, because I was still in school, so I had like exams and I had to study and I had class to pass and I had like different obligations to me. So like, I never really bothered with that because I'm just like, not today, not today, not today. But then there came a time where I realized I had to bother with that because it was hindering my relationship with God, and I knew it was. In high school, I fell in love with God, and that took a major peak. But then with college, it went down a little bit and then plateaued. And I would say it's because I wasn't bothering with things that I knew I should have bothered with in order to strengthen my relationship with God. So many things was always the priority before me fixing me, right? Or discovering why I'm this way and inviting God in to help me with my issues, right? Okay, so now this is where the pivot of me and my plateau with God began to change, and I started to increase in my relationship with God. It's when I met my husband today, Dante. When I met Dante, he was in DC. Well, no, when I met him, we're both in Albany together, right? If y'all want to see that whole how we met story, you can look on our New Day with the Newmans channel and find it there. But we met in Albany, we didn't date. I curved him because he had long nails, and I said I was dating, that's why he left me alone. But I really wasn't dating nobody. So now, he's in DC and I'm in Michigan. He's getting his PhD in DC. I'm getting my law degree in Michigan. And he's still reaching out to me, still checking in. Even though I told him I was dating somebody, he was still checking in like, hey, how you doing? How are things? And I think that was God kind of like saying, continue to talk to this woman, even though this woman told you she has a boyfriend. Because what guy in their right mind will continue to text another girl in college when there's like a slew of women he could talk to, but yet he's still reaching out to me, even though I just told him I have a boyfriend, and he's still reaching out to me, right? So college is over. That was my senior year. He reached out to me. We met, we exchanged numbers, so that's why he was able to text me, but yet I told him I was dating. So now I'm in law school, I'm in Michigan, and he's reached out to me again, like, hey, how are things? How's law school? And I'm just like, boy, this guy's persistent, or maybe he doesn't believe I have a boyfriend. Whichever one it was, I text back, engage in conversation with him. Over time, all these engagements via text snowballed into phone calls, snowballed into FaceTimes. So now we're really, like, we're dating now, long distance dating. Without even saying it, we're kind of dating because we're talking every day on the phone now. And to the point where it's like, we need to see if we have the same chemistry face to face. So then he makes the arrangements, flies to Michigan, and now we're face to face. But before he even comes to Michigan, boy, am I just talking too fast here. We're like having one of the phone calls that we have every day after he bought his ticket. And this is my time to tell him I'm saving myself to marriage, right? Because all this time, I never told him I'm saving myself to marriage because he was always long distance. He was never in my space or area to feel a temptation to then tell him, right? So I felt like no need to tell him because we're long distance. He's in DC, I'm in Michigan. We're not gonna meet up to do anything that we should be doing. Well, that I should be doing. So one day I'm having this conversation with him before he comes to Michigan. And I'm like, you know you're gonna sleep on the couch, right? Like to kind of like jokingly bring it up and then really bring it up. So I'm making a joke like, hey, I know you know you're gonna sleep on the couch, right? Like you're not gonna have bed privileges, basically. And then he's like, yeah, of course, like I already knew that. And I'm like, now that was a new response I never got from most guys. Most guys would be like, what, really? Nah, like I'm sleeping on the bed with you. No, you know? And he was just like, yeah, I already knew that. And I was just like, okay, let me not be too gullible to this response too soon. And I'm like, okay, what makes you think you knew that already? Like, I never mentioned that before. And he's like, I just knew by the way that you carry yourself and the way you talk that you were not about to just have me over and we be messing around. And I was like, okay, go on. I'm like, what else do you see then? He's like, you're probably waiting until marriage too, huh? And I was like, oh. And I was like, yeah, I am. And that's where I was actually going with this. Like, and one let you know I'm waiting until marriage. So like, hope you don't have an impression of what you're gonna get when you come here. And he's like, he started laughing. He's like, nah, I knew you were about that. I knew you were about to have that type of trip with me. Like, you look a girl who is waiting for marriage, so I wasn't expecting that. And that's when I knew there was something special about this guy. Although I still like, let me see how you act on this trip, you know? But in my head, I was just like, yeah, he's a good guy. He's a good guy. And I wanted him to be a good guy so bad. And it's so funny because like when I say he's a good guy, it reminds me of the Temptations movie with by Tyler Perry with Janae Smollett. And she's looking at Lance Gross and she's like, but I don't want a good guy, I want a phenomenal guy, right? But in my head I'm like, okay, I'm not gonna be a phenomenal guy just yet, but you're a good guy. So so he comes over and he does not mess around. And when I say not mess around, he didn't even kiss me. We hugged, cuddled while watching a movie, but not even a kiss did this guy attempt to have with me. I was like, oh, like he was not playing when he's just like, I know that I shouldn't expect that when I come here. And he really did not for that. Not at one time did he attempt to kiss me. And that's when I knew there was something special about this guy and that I wasn't just wasting his time. Because if he came over and tried to push my boundaries, then I would have just been like, okay, this was a waste of time, right? But he came over, respected my boundaries. I was like, wow, I never went past this stage, right? Seeing a guy respect my boundaries like this, especially after flying to come see me. And which draws me to another point, right? Which is why whenever a guy would take me out, when they wanted to date me, to show me they were interested, I never wanted a guy to even pay for my plate or my drink or nothing, because once a guy tried to pay for something, then I feel like they felt entitled to whatever will come next after the drink or meal. So now when I met Dante, and he is like showing me that he's not going to push my boundaries, even though he booked a round trip ticket from Michigan to DC, I was just like, wow, that's more than a meal, that's more than a drink. And he didn't even come out here for a kiss. He really came out there to like know me, see if we have a chemistry face to face, and see if this is like really going somewhere. And in that trip, it validated for the both of us that this is something serious, and I should be scared because I never got past this moment. Well, for me, I should be scared. Like Dante, I think he said he had like one serious relationship, but I never had a serious relationship past that. I never had a serious relationship. He was my first adult serious relationship. I had like puppy love like in high school, right? But this is like real adult love that I was just like, this could be my husband. And that's when I began to feel that, and that's when I began to get scared, and that's when I started to think like, I need to find something wrong with him so I can leave him, because usually what I'll find wrong in men is the fact that they will not respect my boundaries. So it's a beautiful thing to see that when I was dating someone who respected my boundaries, I didn't have to play with fire. So now, the two things I had to worry about when it came to my purity was me drinking and how I was dressing. Okay, so now I'm just gonna fast forward and talk about marriage and experiencing intimacy for the first time. This is something I never brought on here, so like, God, please guide my tongue as I speak. But when Dante and I got married, instead of I do's, now we can be intimate, right? We can have the full-blown sex. So though I should have been super excited about doing it for the first time, because after years and years of hearing my girlfriend's stories about it, and also scares, that definitely helped. That whenever my girlfriend had like a pregnancy scare, I was like, you know. But also just hearing their stories about their sexual experiences, I was excited I should have been excited to see how my own was about to be. But I was very nervous and anxious and all the feels, plus excited as well, but like, I was nervous about it all. Even though he was my husband, he was about to see me naked for the first time. He was about to like touch parts of my body for the first time. So it was just an uncomfortable feeling, because these are first. No matter how close you are with someone, doing something for the first time is going to feel uncomfortable because it's the first time. So I remember thinking to myself, why do I feel so uncomfortable? Maybe I shouldn't have married him. Like, shouldn't I feel comfortable because like he's my husband and we're married and now the time is right? I started to doubt the marriage I just said I do in. Right? Like, Lord, was I supposed to marry this man? Maybe I wasn't supposed to marry this man. Like, I should have felt more comfortable, because sometimes I measure my decisions based on my comfort level. Like, if this decision makes me feel comfortable, then it was right. But if this decision makes me feel uncomfortable, then it was wrong. So now I'm in a position where I'm about to have sex with my husband and I'm feeling uncomfortable. Like, I'm just feeling like nervous and scared and so anxious about it all. But I realized that I felt nervous and scared and anxious of all those things because for so long, I defined sex as bad. I defined sex as a sin. I defined sex as playing with fire. I defined sex as a reason of why it was pushing me away from God and not drawing me closer to God. But now I had to tell my brain that sex is good because I am now married. Sex is no longer a sin because I'm now married. And sex is no longer me playing with fire because I am now married. It took weeks after marriage for me to really see and understand and believe that sex was good now, because I'm now married. Because for all those years before marriage, I viewed sex as bad. And it took me a while for me to see sex as something that is wonderful and amazing, and something that should be cherished and appreciated and fun when it's done the right way, when it's done in marriage with two people who came together in unity and became one under God, right? And it's so sad because I couldn't even voice this out to my husband just yet in the beginning, because I didn't want him to feel like I was doubting the marriage in the beginning. Because in the beginning, my understanding was maybe I shouldn't have married this man because I'm uncomfortable getting naked and, you know, being active with him. But then as I continued to like seek understanding, I saw it was because I was viewing sex as bad, and it was not that my husband is bad. I'm just viewing sex as bad, which is making me view what we're about to do as bad, right? No matter who it was, I would have always seen it as bad, but I shouldn't have seen it as bad because I'm with my husband, right? So because I was with my husband, I had to like really pivot and change and transform the way I was thinking, and now see it as good, and I see it as something wonderful. So now that was more of a conversation I could have had with my husband. And I even found wisdom in the Bible through various verses in the Bible that spoke about sex, that spoke about how it should be something beautiful between man and woman who are married, who are united as one. Okay, so that was with my marriage, and that conversation was more understanding, and he understood it better. Because it did bring some friction, because he saw this like, you don't seem like you're enjoying it, you don't seem happy to have it, you know. Like I remember we used to have these conversations, and I remember like it pained me to even have that conversation because I didn't want him to think he was doing something wrong. It was just me and how I was viewing this thing of sex. We had to like really work through it, and he had to understand where I was coming from. And he had to like really just be patient with me as my mind was transforming in the way I would think, right? So thank God for a patient husband. Thank God for a patient husband, because yeah, I was a doozy. But for good reason, right? Because I was trying to be pure with no sex for so long. I think another piece of me that felt anxious about having sex once being married is that I felt I would no longer be pure. That I felt like the community of purity that I was once in, I'm no longer in that community anymore. It's like they kicked me out. So it was as if there was like this club, this community club that I was a part of for all my life. And I wore that badge with honor. And I was so proud to be in this club of purity. And then all of a sudden I get married and it's time to have sex. And once I have sex, I'm kicked out of this club. And I didn't want to be kicked out of. I shaped my identity around being a virgin so bad. I shaped my identity around being a virgin so bad. And I remember that. I used to be proud to say I'm a virgin. I used to be proud to say I'm saving myself to marriage. So now that I'm married, I'm about to have it for the first time, I can no longer say I'm a virgin. I can no longer say I'm saving myself to marriage, because I'm now married and I'm now about to have it, SEX, for the first time, which will strip me from being a virgin. And I wasn't ready of that stripping. I was so proud to be in this club that I was letting that shadow me being proud of being a wife now to my now husband. And that's something else I had to battle and really allow God to transform my way of thinking. And it was just with over time, God continued to transform my way of thinking, transform how I talk about sex and virginity and way into marriage, transform the way I would think about virginity, saving myself to marriage, and sex and all that. And it was just with over time, it just became less guilty over time, less anxious filled over time, and more enjoyable. Like, because the Bible says, like, sex is a gift in marriage. That's the gift you receive in marriage. And I had to learn how to appreciate that gift, enjoy that gift, have fun with that gift, love that gift, and not be ashamed of it. I remember that. I remember the morning after I woke up from my wedding, and this is now, I'm no longer part of the virginity club. And I felt so guilty. I remember thinking, like, I sinned. I did the biggest sin that I told God I was never gonna do. This promise I made to God is now broken. I was like, V, calm down, relax, like, take it easy. This promise made to God has been fulfilled because you said you would not have sex outside marriage. You are now married. Relax. You are good. You kept your promise. God loves you. God sees what you've done all these years. Even though you played with fire, you know, God saw that you thread that line a little bit, but you maintained your promise with God. And I thank God for not allowing me to kill myself in that guilt, and allowing me to over time seek knowledge with the Word, God, and the Bible. As a mother now and having a baby now, it puts me in a whole new bracket of what purity should mean now. I feel like before I was still kind of like dressing, even though I wanted to dress modestly and not dress too like revealing. I think now as a mother and now with my baby here, I think it's gonna push me now to be even more modest because I have someone that I need to model for. And I think that transformation of how my mind is continuing to transform from the very beginning of the days where I was in that tent with Jennifer thinking that being pure just meant not having sex, to me being in high school, college, and law school thinking that I'm pure because I'm not having sex, but I am still drinking, dressing immodestly, and revealing, and playing with temptation, to now being a mother who now is really buckling down in her walk of purity. Like, even there's still some blind spots where that may be revealing to me later on in life that will show that, yeah, that's not pure and I need to change it, right? And playing with temptation. Playing with temptation is something I did for far too long. All through high school, college, and law school, I played with temptation. And it was not until I met my husband who truly respected my boundaries of wanting to wait to marriage and not allowing me to play with temptation. Like, he really was just like, no, no, no. And in most ways, he was weak and I was strong. I was like, no, 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 because he still is human. So there was moments where he was weak, but this was further along in our relationship where he has shown me that, like, I'm not going to let you break your vow with God. And like, he meant it when he said that to me, like, I'm not gonna be the reason why you broke your vow with God. He's like, not me. So, but he's still human, so he had his weak moments, and then I was strong through those moments, and God allowed us to balance. So it just allowed me to now be here and now be a mother. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video and were inspired, encouraged, motivated to also wait till marriage, because it is honestly the best decision I've ever made in my life. And I thank God for putting Jennifer in my life when he did, when I was just a wee little girl, and how purity is something that I will always seek after, even now that I am having sex as a married woman. So I hope this video inspired, motivated, encouraged you guys to make that decision to, if you're a virgin, to maintain your virginity, or if you want to now remain celibate after experiencing sexual activity. Hope this encourages you to now make that decision, because it's never too late to make that decision, because God still welcomes us all with open arms. He's still going to be with us and love us and carry us through every phase of our life, you know, even in the phase where we weren't as pure as we thought we were, you know. Just to make the decision that's right for you, right? Make the decision with God. Make that decision that's biblically based, because I promise you, biblically based decisions are the best decisions one can make. At least I'm a living testimony for that. So I hope this video inspires you to continue to make biblically based decisions in your life, in your relationship, and what you choose to do in your relationship, because God will definitely bring you through. He will transform you and make you think and live your life how you should, because He got the answers. The answers in the Bible, and He continues to reveal more answers to you. So let Him just work and move in your life, because I'm a living testimony that that's the best decision I could have ever done. Anyways, I love you, beauty riders. Hit that subscribe down below if you haven't clicked it yet. Okay? And as you continue to see my journey as now a wife and a mother and a child of God and a woman of God and a daughter of God, okay, and a sister of God. Okay, love you, riders, and I'll see you in another video. Bye.